hapa ndipo unapaswa kukaa, mkao wa kutazama na kusikiza. Usikose Sauti ya Uongozi kila siku ya Jumamosi kuanzia saa 1 jioni hadi saa 3 jioni. Ndani ya Ndizi TV Africa, nami Jeff Nyakundi. Sauti ya Uongozi. Tunazungumza, tunajenga, tunabadilika. A very good morning, our viewer, wherever you are watching us from. This is the Morning Buzz from Ndizi TV Africa, and my name is Jeff Nyakundi. Together, my director Lucas Ouma, this morning ensuring that you have been informed on what is going on, and of course, what we normally do here daily, more so to inform you on what is trending and of course what is in the newspapers today. And there's a lot that we have prepared for you, and of course it's that time and that moment, being a Tuesday, and of course the Muslim family or the Muslim friends, and of course our colleagues, they have started observing Ramadan, as well as the Catholic or actually the church. That is the Sunday observers. They have started what we call the Lent period that will be running for a whole month. That is observing some of the Christian historicals, and of course ensuring that they are keeping it holy and ensuring that they're taking their prayers to God in every manner. And that is why we are saying that Ramadan Kareem, and happy Lent period for those who are observing it this month. And of course, today being a Tuesday, that is 17th of February 2026, we welcome you to our products this morning here at Ndizi TV Africa. Ensure that you can be able to talk to us through our SMS number, that is 21575, and of course following us on social media platforms, that is on Facebook, Ndizi TV Africa, and YouTube, Ndizi TV Africa, TikTok, Instagram, X as Ndizi TV Africa. Together with me, I'll be unpacking what is in the newspapers this morning, and of course from the Standard newspaper, the Daily Nation, People's Daily, the Star newspaper, Taifa Leo, and not forgetting the Business Daily. And of course there's a lot that has happened since the weekend, that is on Saturday, Sunday, and of course that is the political rallies that happened, one in Mombasa, in Tononoka Stadium, another one in Kitengela, and we are expecting many more to come, as we have seen on social media platforms, and of course these politicians say. And still the fractures in ODM party are on deepening so widely. And the latest, of course, we saw one man dying or killed at Kitengela. That is after the police robbed tear gas. And of course, several got injured, and one died on the spot. And they say that he's a 28-year-old man who died, leaving behind one kid, and of course a young family. That is a young lady as a widow. And there's all that has been happening. That is yesterday, the opposition chiefs appeared to visit the office of the Inspector General in Nairobi CBD. And of course, they were unattended, and of course, they promised to be coming back every week there to try and find answers from the Inspector General. And what they are telling us that there's an attack that was done last time when the opposition chief, that is the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, attended a church service that is demanding, of course, Odhaya the other time, and of course they're demanding answers from him, and of course to some extent they were tear gassed, and of course dispersed from the offices where they went yesterday. But before I unpack that, we can be able to have a look at the news papers this morning, or the newspapers review this morning. And we start from our newspaper, that is the Standard newspaper. And what has been given the bold headline there? They're talking about the snobbish Kanja. That is a cowardice. That is what they're terming as a political storm erupted at Jogoo House after opposition leaders accused Inspector General Douglas Kanja of dodging a crucial security meeting. Even as outrage mounted over the fatal shooting of a 28-year-old man during a rally in Kitengela, and the leaders vowed weekly visits to police headquarters, demanding arrest over the Othaya Church attack and accountability for what they termed rising police excesses. That is a story published on page 4 and of course page 5. And yesterday, those who were seen to be there was the DCP party leader, Geoffrey Rigathi Gachagua, and of course DAPK party leader Eugene Wamalwa, not forgetting Kalonzo Musyoka of Wiper Patriotic Front Party. And here, there are some of what they mentioned and said, and of course the photo we are seeing there is that of the Inspector General Douglas Kanja, Eugene Wamalwa's, of course Rigathi Gachagua, and of course Kalonzo Musyoka. And from what Kalonzo Musyoka is saying is that the spokesperson told us that they will send another invite. It is shocking that the IG and his team were not available for such an important meeting concerning the safety of Kenyans. That is Kalonzo Musyoka of Wiper Party. And elsewhere, Rigathi Gachagua is saying that it cannot be that police who are charged with maintaining law and order are the ones breaking the law. Guns, both using taxpayers' money, cannot be turned against unarmed Kenyans. That is Rigathi Gachagua. Elsewhere, Eugene Wamalwa of DAPK leader, or the DAPK party, said that we believe these are orders from the above. When we return here, we expect to have a full report and remedial measures to address the concerns. We expect none other than Inspector General Kanja. That was Eugene Wamalwa of DAPK party leader. And of course, they visited yesterday, and of course, they have vowed that they will be visiting the offices of the Inspector General headquarters until they have talk one-on-one through, of course, until they have a talk one-on-one, and of course on the issues that they have the issues that they have showed concerns about, more so the Othaya attack that happened at a church where the former deputy president was attending some weeks back, and of course the killing of a 20-year-old man yesterday, on Sunday, that is in Kitengela, where the likes of Edwin Sifuna, Babu Wino, and other leaders had their meeting, that is on Sunday. And those are some of the stories published on the Standard newspaper. And of course, the others there are the advertisements, more so talking about the Star Times, where you can also find Indizi TV Africa on Star Times. Elsewhere, as we move on, there is a lot, and of course there have been concerns that have been raised over on what has been happening and why could it be like the United Opposition is taking it to the office of the Inspector General, and why should they not do an invitation and attend a meeting with them without their supporters? And maybe that is why other people are saying that maybe that is what led to them to be, of course, tear gassed, to be dispersed because of the congestion, and what it's being termed to be something that was done in an ordinary manner. Elsewhere, let's have a look at that is the Daily Nation. And of course, the Daily Nation, the bold headline there is that in bed with goons. Who are these in bed with goons? That is they're saying that the Inspector General is in bed with goons. And here they're saying that impunity 3 weeks after the attack on former Deputy President by armed men at a church in Odhaya. Police are yet to make arrests. Of course, terming it as that now that these goons are in bed with the police officers. Elsewhere, on the photos we are seeing on this other side, that is on the left hand side, we can be able to see a 28-year, of course, 28, the age of Innocent Oyomo, who was killed in Kitengela on Sunday when the police fired a live bullet to disrupt meeting convened by a faction of ODM leaders. And of course, the other photo we are seeing there is that people flee the police, or people flee after police opened fire and robbed tear gas to disperse to erupt an ODM rally in Kitengela on Sunday. That is a photo that we are seeing there. And elsewhere, we are seeing a photo of Inspector General, that is Douglas Ekanja. And here, the writer is saying that Hadija Riami will raise her baby without the father, Vincent Oyomo, who was killed on Sunday when police violently broke up an ODM rally in Kitengela. Death of the mechanic adds to rising casualties of the lethal force deployed against government. Critics, Police Chief Douglas Kanja yesterday skipped a meeting with opposition leaders who allege that is an unholy alliance between hooligans and state agents. That is a story published on page 4 and page 5 into details on what transpired on Sunday, that from the meeting that was planned and of course attended by a faction of ODM leaders. Talking about the faction of ODM leaders, that is the likes of Edwin Sifuna, Babu Wino, that is James Orengo, and other leaders, that is including Kale Pamisi, of the section of the ODM members that who seems to be having the same say with the outside Secretary General of ODM, that is Edwin Sifuna. And that's a story that published on page 4 and of course page 5. Before we move, of course, there's another story. We move a little bit up that where the story published on page 4, actually story published on page 8, not page 4. They're talking about options for Sifuna as he battles a bid to oust him as ODM Secretary General. Edwin Sifuna has stirred the political scenes with his resistance to the party backing President Ruto's re-election. But how he navigates the swirling political storm could make or break his career. That is a story published on page 8 that it's either Sifuna might make it or not make it, depending on how he's going to play his political soccer. That is a story published on page 8 that as much as, yes, he is trying to be sent away from the ODM party, that is, the party seems to be making him or making who he is currently. And there are some scenes that he is resisting to be backing President William Samoei Ruto. But as he navigates the swirling political storm, could make or break his career. That is the political side of it. On the other side, of course, it might make him or break him completely, more so when it comes to politics. That is a story published on page 8 that seems to be like the options for Sifuna. Maybe he might be making it, depending on how he will be swimming in the political river, and of course ensuring that he is delivering what he is timing or what he is seeing to be like the ODM cannot be able to be packing the current president. And of course, as he vowed last week that he is the duly elected Secretary General. That is a story you're going to be able to read into details on page 8 of the Daily Nation. Elsewhere, on page 13, we can be able to see their photo of Guman and of course his kids, where they're saying that a woman who is feeding on wild fruits. They're saying that families turn to wild fruits as famine bites. That is Mwanso on the northeastern part of the country, where we have seen droughts hitting, and of course the cattle there dying of lack of water and of course grass. And now that the families that are living in the area, they have turned to wild fruits as famine bite them completely. And that is a story published on page 13 of the Daily Nation. On page 12, there is a story talking about health, high price of beauty. You know, do you know health impacts on hair products you use? Researchers find the carcinogen panned substances and toxic metal in relaxers. And of course, that is a story published on page 2 of the Daily Nation, talking about the prices, or the high prices of beauty, and what normally we are seeing more so what they say as the hair products that they normally use currently. And of course they have as per the research that has been done, there is a lot of toxic metals in relaxers that normally our girl child or ladies use to ensure that they are looking good, and of course their hair is done well. And it's something that you need to have a look at, and of course have a close look at it and observe it keenly, and try to ensure that whatever, and try to know or ask yourself what you have been using, because here it's a story talking about there are some of the banned products that are not supposed to be used, but currently they got their way to the market and they are being sold to be used more so in the beauty industry, and ensuring that the young women and ladies, they're using it to ensure that their hair looks so nice and relaxed, as they call it. Of course, there is a story published on page 2 of the Daily Nation. Elsewhere, on top of this newspaper, there is a story published there on page 3 talking about the unity of faith as Ramadan Lent starts on same day. And of course today we are marking it as the Ash, they normally call it Ash Wednesday. And of course and the Muslim family, they have started observing the whole month of Ramadan. And of course the Christians, they are as well as observing the Lent starting today onwards for the whole month. And it's being seen as to be the unity of faith. And of course, as much as the Ramadan and Lent starts on the same day, that's a story published on page 3 of the Daily Nation. And of course, those are some of the stories published on the Daily Nation. And of course, the main story here is talking about in bed with goons. That is 3 weeks after the attack of the former deputy president by armed men at the church in Othaya. Police have not arrested any of them. And of course, yesterday, Douglas Kanja is said to have skipped a meeting with the opposition chiefs that was happening at his office. And of course, they still demanding to be visiting him every week to ensure that they're having a conversation one-on-one. And elsewhere, we saw a 20-year-old Vincent Oyomo who was killed in Kitengela during a Sunday when police fired a live bullet, disrupted the meeting that was convened by the faction of the ODM leaders. And that is what you can be able to read on page 4 and of course page 5 of the Daily Nation. Elsewhere on the Star newspaper, let's have a look at it. And here they're talking about Sifuna Orengo team in high-stake gamble. That is talking about ODM rebels claim turmoil fueled by row over presidential race. And this is a story published on the Star newspaper. And there we are seeing Edwin Sifuna, and of course Winnie Odinga, of that is the daughter of the former Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga, aka Baba. And we are seeing there James Orengo, Caleb Amisi, Babu Wino, and other key leaders in opposition, that is in ODM party faction. And of course, here they're talking about Sifuna and Orengo team in high stakes gamble. And of course, that was during a meeting that they did last week when Edwin Sifuna was giving a presser after he was sent away, or he was relieved his duties as the Secretary General of the ODM party. And that is a story that you can be able to read on the Star newspaper. Elsewhere, page 3, they say that women exploitation, the hidden cost of Kenyan's coffee boom. That is a story published on page 3 talking about women and of course coffee in the country, and of course what they have termed as an exploitation, the hidden cost of Kenyan's coffee boom. That's a story published on page 3. Elsewhere, on page 9, exploring the rise of same-sex relationships among Kenyan students. And of course, this is something that we have seen is happening currently in institutions and of course schools, not forgetting where we are living. And it is the same-sex relationship, that is a boy and a boy, a girl and a girl. Something that is, of course, in the African, is something that cannot be tolerated, and that is a story published on page 9 of this Star newspapers talking about exploring the rise of the same-sex relationships among the Kenyan students. What is happening? That is, they are trying to open up and of course give information on what is going on more so in the Kenyan students, either in junior secondary, senior secondary schools, and of course girls' school, either boarding or mixed schools, and not forgetting the universities and colleges in the country, that the rise of the same-sex relationship is actually on the hike in the country. That is a story published on page 9 of the Star newspaper. Elsewhere, on top of the Star newspaper, they're talking about the big interview that is of Wandai rules out Siaya governor bid and vows to campaign for Ruto in 2027. Talking about Wandai, just giving rules out that he's going to unseat maybe the James Orengo, who is the governor, who is the current governor of Siaya County. And he has vowed to be campaigning for Ruto into 2027 general elections. Remember, Wandai is the CS in the current government and in charge of electrification, or in the ministry of ensuring that the Kenyans are connected with electricity. And of course, he had vowed to be campaigning for William Samoei Ruto in come 2027. Elsewhere, you can be able to get the pullout, that is My Government, where they advertise government tenders and of course job opportunities. You can be able to see the pullout inside the Star newspaper. And those are some of the stories published on the Star newspaper. The one that has been given more emphasis here is that the Sifuna or Sifuna Orengo team in high stakes gamble, talking about the ODM rebels, claim turmoil fueled by row over presidential race. And that is a story that you can be able to read on the Star newspaper. Elsewhere, let's have a look at the People's Daily. And of course, the People's Daily, it's taking us back to something that we were talking about last year. And of course, we had the president talk about it. And it's nothing other than the corruption and bribery, more so in the two houses, in the two respected houses. But currently, I think there is no respect to it because of what we see happening in it and what is being said to be happening in those two houses. That is the National Assembly and, of course, the Senate Assembly, or the Senate Parliament, the two parliaments of the country. And here they're talking about house of corruption. And when they're talking about house of corruption, is bribery claims rock parliament again. That is a story published on page 4. And there we are seeing two hands shaking, or two people shaking their hands. And as they are shaking it, they are giving, or somebody, or one is giving and another one is receiving. Something that we have been seeing, or what we have been heard being what has been said, it has been now something that ni kama ni kitu ambacho kinafanywa kuwa ni sawa tu kufanywa na hakuna kitu kile ambacho kitakuwa kinaendelea pale. And what we are seeing here, talking about parliament again, being discussed, that there are some bribery or corruption issues that are being mentioned. And if you want to escape either the committee where you are being checked on what you have been doing, and you know that you have done nothing, or you have been misusing the money, so long as you have something for the members of parliament and of course the senators, then you can be able to escape. That is as per the story published on page 4 of the People's Daily. Being discussed again that there is of course claims rock parliament for bribery again. And of course elsewhere on top of this newspaper, on page 7, why the fight for deputy president has intensified and what it means. That is a story published on page 7. We had the other time when President William Ruto, the deputy president, Professor Kithure Kindiki, and of course the ODM party leader, or Dr. Oburu Oginga, when they met in Kisumu during the Nyota fund disbursement, what Oburu Oginga mentioned was that they are interested in making a pact with the current government, but they are not interested in the deputy president's seat. But currently, last week in Mombasa, in a meeting that they held at the NEC, where the outside or where the outside that is the Secretary General Edwin Sifuna. In that meeting, Oburu Odinga mentioned that if there is something that they're eyeing for is the deputy president, and he mentioned it that yes, they do respect Professor Kithure Kindiki, and he's a good friend to them, but the deputy president is a public office, and of course they also are interested in sitting in that office, and that is what they're eyeing. And now, on page 7 of the People's Daily, they're talking about why the fight of the deputy president has intensified and what it means. That's a story published on page 7. Elsewhere, on page 12, Sifuna must turn populism into purpose before it backfires. You know, on what we saw from Busia County the other week, last week, or actually on Sunday, what we saw at Kitengela, that is Kajiado County, it's something that if Sifuna cannot make use of that and make the bold steps and of course either decide on what he wants to do, then it might be of good use if he cannot make use of it currently. And it might backfire as time goes by. That is as per the story published on page 12 of this People's Daily newspaper. And of course, those are some of the stories published on the People's Daily. And of course, the one that has been given more energy and of course more bold or more time here, talking about the bribery claims rock parliament again. And that is a story published on page 4 of the People's Daily. Let's have a look at the Taifa Leo. And of course, Taifa Leo, there's a lot of stories published there, and talking about what is going on politically. And of course, the man who has been featured there is Edwin Sifuna. And of course, the Taifa Leo, they're talking about mtihani mgumu wa Sifuna, akisema kwamba senata wa Nairobi ana maamuzi mane ya kisiasa baada ya mambo yake ndani ya ODM kuyumba. That is a story, ama ni taarifa ambazo zimechapishwa katika ukurasa wa pili katika gazeti hili la Taifa Leo. Pale tunaona kwamba anasema kwamba ni mustakabali, katibu mkuu wa ODM atalazimika kuamua moja kati ya kubaki katika ODM, kuhama chama hicho na kupambana kisiasa kivyake, kushirikiana na mrengo wa Uhuru, yaani katika Azimio la Umoja au Jubilee, au kuungana na mrengo wa umoja wa viongozi wa upinzani wakiwemo Rigathi Gachagua wa DCP na Kalonzo Musyoka wa Wiper. Taarifa ambazo zimechapishwa katika ukurasa wa pili. na ikiwa kwamba anataja kwamba ana mambo maamuzi manne ambayo anafaa kuyafanya kabla mambo yake kutibuka pale ODM zaidi. Cha kwanza ni kuhama ama ni kubaki katika chama hicho cha ODM na kurekebisha mambo yao pale chamani. La pili, ahame chama hicho na kupambana kisiasa kivyake. La tatu, kushirikiana na mrengo wa Uhuru, yaani katika Azimio la Umoja au Jubilee. La nne ni kuungana na mrengo wa umoja wa viongozi wa upinzani wakiwemo Rigathi Gachagua wa chama cha DCP ama Kalonzo Musyoka wa chama cha Wiper. Taarifa ambazo zimechapishwa katika ukurasa wa pili. Je, ni kipi huyu ndugu wetu Edwin Sifuna atakifanya? Atakiama chama hicho cha ODM rasmi na kupambana kivyake kisiasa? Atashirikiana na Uhuru Kenyatta aswa kwa chama cha Jubilee ama Azimio la Umoja, ama atakuwa ana baki katika chama hicho cha ODM na kutengeza mambo yawe sawa mule chamani, ama ataungana na wapinzani pale ama umoja wa upinzani, chama aidha chama cha DCP ama chama cha Wiper chake Kalonzo? Ni yeye atakuwa anaamua mustakabali wake, ikiwa kwamba kabla mambo yake haijatibuka zaidi katika chama kile cha ODM. Na picha ambayo tunaona pale ni wakati mmoja akifanya ama akitoa presa katika afisi zake pale Nairobi. Na tukiendelea kusonga mbele katika vidokezo zaidi ni kwamba Ramadhan na Kwaresma za kipekee kuanza pamoja hapo kesho, ikiwa kwamba hapo kesho itakuwa ni Ash Wednesday, na bila shaka mfungo wa Ramadhan utakuwa unaanza rasmi. Ni taarifa ambazo imechapishwa na Anthony Kitimo, sema kwamba tukio la nadra linatarajiwa kutokea kuanzia kesho, pale ambapo Wakristo na Waislamu wataanza mfungo wa siku ama kwa siku moja Kwaresma ya Wakristo, hasa kanisa la Katoliki, na mwezi mtukufu wa Ramadhan huanza sambamba kila baada ya karibu miaka 30. Kwa mara ya mwisho kufanyika hivyo ilikuwa katika miaka ya 90 pale. Ni taarifa ambazo pia zimechapishwa katika ukurasa wa pili katika gazeti hili la Taifa Leo, na pale tunaona picha ya Waislamu wakisali ama wakiadhimisha Ramadhan. Na bila shaka katika upande mwingine tunaona ni picha ya Jumatano ya Majivu ambayo inatarajiwa hapo kesho, na bila shaka Ramadhani nayo kung'oa nanga hapo kesho, ikiwa kwamba ni jambo ambalo huwa linaonekana linapishana ama yanafanyika kwa wakati mmoja baada ya miaka 30, na wakati haya yalifanyika ni miaka ya 90 pale. Taarifa hizo zimechapishwa katika ukurasa wa pili. Vidokezo zaidi ni kwamba pale ukurasa wa 4 ni yule ambaye anajulikana kama serikali sasa yasaka Murusi aliyesusua vipusa Kenya. Taarifa ambazo zimechapishwa katika ukurasa wa 3. Anadaiwa kurekodi akiwafisia wanawake kimapenzi. Taarifa hizo zimechapishwa katika ukurasa wa 3, na ni jambo ambalo tumeona likitrend tangia Ijumaa, Jumamosi, Jumapili, hata jana bado jambo hilo lilikuwa lina trend katika mitandao ya kijamii, kia kwamba Mrashia akitaja kwamba Mrashia, na tumeona Wakenya wengi wakimitate vile ambavyo Mrashia huyu alikuwa anazungumza pale, kusema kwamba yeye hafahamu Kiingereza sana, lakini angependa kumualika yeyote ambaye alikuwa anazungumza naye mwanadada katika jumba lake, ama kumueleza kwamba atamuonyesha jumba lake pale. Ni taarifa ambazo zimechapishwa katika ukurasa wa 3. Na kwingineko ukurasa wa 4, washirika wa Kalonzo wakosoa kauli ya Matiang'i. Wanachama ama wanachama ama watoa kauli kuwa hawatakubali mwafaka kuteua mwaniaji wa urais. Katika taarifa ambazo zimechapishwa katika ukurasa wa 3, ni sintofahamu ama mishemishe katika vyama vya upinzani na yale ambayo yanaendelea pale, kia kwamba wale washirika wa karibu wa Kalonzo Musyoka sasa wakosoa kauli ya Matiang'i ambapo imetajwa kwamba huenda ikatumika kumteua mgombea wa urais katika uchaguzi mkuu ujao wa mwaka 2027, haswa kuteua mmoja kati ya viongozi wa upinzani ambaye atakuwa anapeperusha bendera ya upinzani na kuwania urais, na haswa kati ama wale wendani wa Kalonzo wanampigia Kalonzo Musyoka upato wa kupata nafasi hiyo ya kuwania kiti hicho cha urais, ila tu pale wanasema kwamba hawatakubaliana na kile ambacho Matiang'i amekizungumza pale. Na kwingine ni kwamba UDA Pwani yadai upinzani shida ya ODM. Wakiongozwa na Omar wadai upinzani ulidhamini uhasama katika ODM ndipo wasishirikiane na UDA. Taarifa ambazo imechapishwa katika ukurasa wa 5. Kia kwamba ni baadhi tu ya taarifa ambazo zimo katika gazeti hili. Upande wa juu kabisa ni kwamba ukurasa wa 4, usafiri wa ndege Kenya wafurugwa na mgomo. Ikiwa kwamba ataka wakumbatia demokrasia ya maelewano baina ya jamii mwaka 2027, ikiwa kwamba ni mgomo ambao ulionekana hiyo jana katika uwanja wa ndege na ulitatiza kidogo baadhi ya wasafiri ambao walikuwa wanasafiri, na ni taarifa ambazo zimechapishwa katika ukurasa wa 4 pale katika gazeti hili la Taifa Leo. Na kwingineko ni kwamba ukurasa wa 13 hadi ukurasa wa 20 ni Mwana Spoti, ikiwa kwamba ni taarifa ambazo zimechapishwa kuhusiana na masuala ya spoti, ikiwa kwamba macho yote kwa Real na PSG mechi za UEFA leo usiku, ikiwa kwamba Madrid wana kibarua ugenini dhidi ya Benfica huku PSG wakionana na Monaco. Taarifa ambazo zimechapishwa katika ukurasa wa 13 hadi ukurasa wa 20 pale. Nitakuwa nikikufahamisha ni vipi ambavyo mechi ambazo zilichezwa weekendi vile ambavyo zilienda. Kumbuka kwamba Arsenal ilipepeta kweli kweli Wigan mabao 4-0, ikiwa kwamba ni dakika 27 tu ambazo za mchezo diposa basi walikuwa Arsenal walikuwa shafunga mabao 4 dhidi ya Wigan. Ni baadhi tu ya taarifa ambazo zimechapishwa katika gazeti hili la Taifa Leo. Ile ambayo limepatiwa kipaumbele zaidi ni kwamba ni mtihani mgumu wa Sifuna. Yeye yako sasa na maamuzi mane ya kisiasa baada ya mambo yake ndani ya ODM kuyumba zaidi. La kwanza tukataja kwamba ama jinsi ambavyo mwandishi ametaja pale ni abaki katika chama hicho cha ODM, afanye mazungumzo na kuridhiana na wenzake. La pili, hame chama hicho kirasmi na afanye kisiasa kivyake. La tatu ni kujiunga na upinzani, chama kile cha Azimio la Umoja ama Jubilee, ama kujiunga na chama cha upinzani moja hapo, chama kile cha DCP ama chama kile cha Wiper ambacho kinaongozwa na Kalonzo Musyoka, na cha DCP kinaongozwa naye Rigathi Gachagua. Na kwingineko gazeti la mwisho, let's have a look at the last newspaper, that is the Business Daily. And here they're talking about the RPA to allow earlier pension access for household bills, part of savings to be channeled into a separate account, that is the two-pot plan expected to encourage pension uptake. They're talking about the pension reforms in the country. And here, of course, that story done by Kefa Muiruri, they're saying that Kenyans will be allowed to access a portion of their pension savings earlier for needs such as education, housing and medical bills under the fresh proposed aimed at encouraging the uptake of retirement products. The Retirement Benefits Authority, that is RPA, has proposed that part of the pension savings be channeled into a separate account that can be accessed during economic hardship and, of course, for investment purposes. The proposal has doubled the two-pot pension policy reform that is meant to support long-term retirement savings while offering flexibility to help fund members in financial distress. Currently, members can access their pension benefits including the matched employer's contribution before the early retirement age of 50 if unemployed or when changing jobs. However, financial hardships is not currently recognized as a legitimate reason for accessing the fund. That is a story published on page 2 of the Business Daily. And of course, they're talking about the early retirement age, that is 50 years. And of course, in case the proposed reforms, if they are being allowed, then those or the Kenyans can be able to access the pension whenever they're facing financial hardship in the country. Elsewhere, we are talking about labor. The CIC ex-boss loses sacking appeal over Imperial Bank deposit. That is a story published, of course, on this newspaper. And of course, they're talking about the story has been done by Joseph Wanguhi. And they're saying that the Court of Appeal has parked the dismissal of the former managing director of CIC Insurance Assets. The CIC Insurance Assets, they are talking about the CIC Insurance Assets, Peter Mwaura, for misleading the board of 506 million deposits at the collapsed Imperial Bank. Of course, the 3-judge bench held that the insurer had valid grounds to end the employment relationship on claims that he performed his duties negligently and of course caused the deposits to be made at Imperial Bank in excess of the agreed 485 million limit. And of course the court found that his 2016 exit followed a lawful way. And elsewhere, the flight delays hit travelers. That is a story published on page 13. Travelers queue at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, JKIA, in Nairobi, after a strike by workers caused flight delays yesterday. Several airlines, including Kenya Airways, which operates mainly from JKIA, reported delay. And of course, that is a story published on page 13. And of course you can be able to have a look at it and of course know exactly what transpired. And some of those people who are traveling and got late to their destinations after the delays that were caused by the the strike that was done by the workers in there. And of course, let's have a look at some of the ticker on the ticker side, where they're saying that why Nedbank is paying a higher premium for NCPA. NCPA Group, digital credit, and of course banking services were among the key factors that saw Nedbank offer a relatively high premium to acquire a stake in the lender, as story published on page 7. And also on page 14, NSSF to cap investment in government debt. That is the National Social Security Fund, NSSF, wants to cap its exposure in government securities at about 60% of its total investment assets. A story I've mentioned that has been published on page 14 of the daily newspaper. And of course, a little bit there on the Old Mutual, they have just published talking about the NSSF Tier 2 contributions into the high growth retirement strategy. And of course, on the top of this newspaper, talking about the market data, and of course the exchange rate still remains at 129. That was on Friday, and of course yesterday on Monday still remains at 129. That is the shilling to USD. The exchange rate remains 0.00%. And of course page 9 by Stanley Mwawasi, talking about the intelligence as Kenyans navigate a 4.7 trillion budget framework. Public debate has understandably focused on borrowing levels, and of course talking about intelligence there, and of course what we think of when we're talking about the 4.7 trillion budgets. Elsewhere on Life, you can be able to have a look at on page 19, they're saying that why Kenyans spend big on renovating their rented houses. Why Kenyans spend big on renovating their rented houses. And those are some of the stories published on the Business Daily, and of course the newspapers today. And some of the headlines that we saw from the Standard newspaper is that the snobbish Kanja that snubbed the opposition leaders, that is who went to see him, that is Eugene Wamalwa, DCP party leader, Geoffrey Rigathi Gachagua, and of course Kalonzo Musyoka of Wiper Party. Also on the Daily Nation, we saw in bed with the goons, that was the headline there, and talking about the killing of a 20-year-old man in Kitengela during the rally that was planned and of course attended by some of the factions of ODM. And also where there we have seen that the options for Sifuna, it's either to remain the ODM party and of course make peace with the members on there, or ditch the party and find his way out, or join the Jubilee or Azimio la Umoja that is led by Uhuru Kenyatta, and elsewhere can be able to join either of the opposition parties, that is DCP or Wiper Party. And elsewhere on the Star, we saw the Sifuna Orengo team in high-stake gamble on Mwaso presidential race, and of course the People's Daily bribery claims rock parliament again. They're saying that maybe the members of parliament are also engaged, or they're known to be having they are of course still practicing the way they are doing their things, more so when it comes to dispatch of their duties. And elsewhere, the Taifa Leo, we have seen that Mutiani Mugumu wa Sifuna, and I've already mentioned about what he has, the four options: to either to leave ODM party, or remain ODM party, or join the Azimio la Umoja's Jubilee party, or else join opposition party, that is either DCP or a Wiper Party. And those are some of the key stories that we had today. And of course, for those who have been following us on our social media platforms, that is Ndizi TV Africa on Facebook, Instagram Ndizi TV Africa, Instagram Ndizi TV Africa, and elsewhere that is TikTok, X, and of course YouTube as Ndizi TV Africa. You can be able to talk to us or leave your comments. Later on I will be having a look at them. And of course we are live there, that is on our Facebook page, and of course our YouTube page. We are taking a quick break. We'll be back, and of course when we'll be back, we'll be talking about the trending stories this morning before we wind it up here at Ndizi TV Africa. And it is 15 minutes past 8 a.m. East African time. Don't go too far. We'll be back in a few minutes. My name is Jeff Nyakundi.
Je, wewe ni mmiliki wa aina ya gari aina ya Alto, Probox, Harrier, V8 na Lexus? Jipatie brake pads kwa bei nafuu hivi sasa. Vilevile oil filters kwa gari aina ya Toyota na vilevile Subaru. Ili upokee popote ulipo, piga simu kupitia nambari 0739318606. Mteja mpendwa, ni wakati sasa wa kujinyakulia aina ya flash disk kuanzia 8GB, 16GB na vilevile 32GB. Vilevile earphones, wireless headsets, unajipatia wireless microphones tofauti kwa bei nafuu. Yale ambayo unafaa kuyafanya hivi sasa ni kwamba unapiga simu kupitia nambari 0739318606. Yote unayapata kwa bei nafuu popote ulipo.
Naam, ni wakati wa kusikiza sauti inayobeba maono, busara na hali halisi ya kisiasa humu nchini. Karibu katika kipindi Sauti ya Uongozi. Hapa tutakuwa tunazungumza na viongozi kujieleza katika hali halisi ya yale ambayo waliahidi kuyafanya, na bila shaka kukupa wewe mtazamaji nafasi ya kuzungumza kama mwananchi wa kawaida kwa yale ambayo waliahidi kuyafanya katika maendeleo humu nchini.
But after making the payment, they delete it. Now, what kind of accounting is that? Because you are supposed to maintain the details of whoever you paid so that the figures can balance.
Watu ambao wanafanyiwa sio kwamba ni wale wananchi wote ambao wako pale wanafanyiwa ile funding, ni makundi haswa. Na zile pesa kufika katika makundi ikamfikia mwananchi yule ambaye alikuwa anachangiwa akapata kiasi kidogo cha pesa. Ina maana kule kuzurula, ule msururu wa kuzunguka inakuwa ni kama ni null and void kwa mwananchi, anaiona kwamba analagaiwa.
If you graduated in 2016 and somebody graduated in 2020, the 2016 was to be given priority to get that job. But nowadays, members of parliament have taken over. They get the letters, they dish them in funerals, others they sell them to the highest bidder.
Kila wiki tutakuletea mahojiano ya kina na viongozi kutoka sekta mbalimbali na jamii kwa ujumla. Je, unajiuliza maswali ni kipi ambacho kinajiri nyuma ya pasia la uongozi? Basi hapa ndipo unapaswa kukaa mkao wa kutazama na kusikiza. Usikose Sauti ya Uongozi kila siku ya Jumamosi kuanzia saa 1 jioni hadi saa 3 jioni ndani ya Ndizi TV Africa, nami Jeff Nyakundi. Sauti ya Uongozi. Tunazungumza, tunajenga, tunabadilika.
Black Market Records.
What's up my good people, it's your guy Aleka Alex. Na nitakuwa nikiwaletea show moto, show fire, show konki, show mambo bad ndani ya rininga yako number 1 Ndizi TV Africa. Tune in every Monday to Friday as from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Usikose, hii nayo itakuwa kari. Kuja tupige dance, tupige gossip, tupige gumzo. Au see you.
Kanogo masonses ofumita bufumi santi masonses kugambe mafonsos zambe
tenda wema pewa tako kwangu ni clean so butafagia kwako ni kuje ndogo juu utakula kushoto usitake kuona na my dirty version.
Tune in every Monday to Friday as from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Kuja tukule doba, kuja tucheze doba, kuja tupige dance, tupige gossip gumzo. Hii itakuwa kari, au sio? Awo. Don't miss.
Inside each one of us, there is a dream. The challenge is how to achieve it. This journey will take inspiration, constant motivation, proper supervision, and strong connections. At Kamal Park Training College, we know what makes your dreams come true. Now, all we need to begin in this journey is you. Enroll today in a variety of courses. Choose Kamal Park Training College.
Steer your future in the right direction. Safe driving starts here. Camel Park Driving School, now ready to quench your driving thirst. We offer NTSA certified driving lessons for upgrading, beginners, and refreshers. Our team of qualified instructors deliver content for the following classes: A1, A2, B1, B2, C, C1 and C2, D1 and the rest. We train learners with modern vehicles which fit the evolving digital world. Why choose Camel Park Driving School? We are situated within a serene environment which offers a humble space of study. Our classes are fitted with advanced materials which supports learning. Other benefits are flexible class schedule, pocket-friendly fees, proper theory and practical guide, annual operation and additional computer packages training. Spend less, learn more, drive forever. Apply now. For more information, call us on or SMS us on 0755 386 594 or 0753 915 354, or you can email us on camelcollege@gmail.com, or also you can visit our offices at Kiogoro, which is 5 kilometers from Kisii town along Kisii-Kirigos Road. Camel Park Driving School, shaping dreams on the wheels. Je, wewe ni mmiliki wa aina ya gari aina ya Alto, Probox, Harrier, V8 na Lexus? Jipatie brake pads kwa bei nafuu hivi sasa. Vilevile oil filters kwa gari aina ya Toyota na vilevile Subaru. Ili upokee popote ulipo, piga simu kupitia nambari 0739318606. Mteja mpendwa, ni wakati sasa wa kujinyakulia aina ya flash disk kuanzia 8GB, 16GB na vilevile 32GB. Vilevile earphones, wireless headsets, unajipatia wireless microphones tofauti kwa bei nafuu. Yale ambayo unafaa kuyafanya hivi sasa ni kwamba unapiga simu kupitia nambari 0739318606. Yote unayapata kwa bei nafuu popote ulipo.
Naam, ni wakati wa kusikiza sauti inayobeba maono, busara na hali halisi ya kisiasa humu nchini. Karibu katika kipindi Sauti ya Uongozi. Hapa tutakuwa tunazungumza na viongozi kujieleza katika hali halisi ya yale ambayo waliahidi kuyafanya, na bila shaka kukupa wewe mtazamaji nafasi ya kuzungumza kama mwananchi wa kawaida kwa yale ambayo waliahidi kuyafanya katika maendeleo humu nchini.
But after making the payment, they delete it. Now, what kind of accounting is that? Because you are supposed to maintain the details of whoever you paid, so that the figures can balance.
Watu ambao wanafanyiwa sio kwamba ni wale wananchi wote ambao wako pale wanafanyiwa ile funding, ni makundi haswa. na zile pesa kufika katika makundi ikamfikia mwananchi yule ambaye alikuwa anachangiwa akapata kiasi kidogo cha pesa, ina maana kule kuzurula, ule msururu wa kuzunguka inakuwa ni kama ni null and void kwa mwananchi, anaiona kwamba analagaiwa.
If you graduated in 2016 and somebody graduated in 2020, the 2016 was to be given priority to get that job. But nowadays, members of parliament have taken over. They get the letters, they dish them in funerals, others they sell them to the highest bidder.
Kila wiki tutakuletea mahojiano ya kina na viongozi kutoka sekta mbalimbali na jamii kwa ujumla. Je, unajiuliza maswali ni kipi ambacho kinajiri nyuma ya pasia la uongozi? Basi hapa ndipo unapaswa kukaa mkao wa kutazama na kusikiza. Usikose Sauti ya Uongozi kila siku ya Jumamosi kuanzia saa 1 jioni hadi saa 3 jioni ndani ya Ndizi TV Africa, nami Jeff Nyakundi. Sauti ya Uongozi, tunazungumza, tunajenga, tunabadilika.
Black Market Records.
What's up my good people, it's your guy Aleka Alex, na nitakuwa nikiwaletea show moto, show fire, show konki, show mambo bad ndani ya rininga yako number 1 Ndizi TV Africa. Tune in every Monday to Friday as from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Usikose, hii na itakuwa kari. Kuja tupige dance, tupige gossip, tupige gumzo. Au sio?
Kanogo masonsesi ofumita bufumi santi masonsesi kugambe mafonsesi ozambe
tenda wema pewa tako kwangu ni clean so butafagia kwako ni kuje ndogo juu utakula kushoto usitake kuona na my dirty version.
Tune in every Monday to Friday as from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Kuja tukule doba, kuja tucheze doba, kuja tupige dance, tupige gossip gumzo. Hii itakuwa kari, au sio? Awo. Don't miss.
Inside each one of us, there is a dream. The challenge is how to achieve it. This journey will take inspiration, constant motivation, proper supervision, and strong connections. At Camel Park Training College, we know what makes your dreams come true. Now, all we need to begin in this journey is you. Enroll today in a variety of courses. Choose Camel Park Training College.
Steer your future in the right direction. Safe driving starts here. Camel Park Driving School, now ready to quench your driving thirst. We offer NTSA certified driving lessons for upgrading, beginners, and refreshers. Our team of qualified instructors deliver content for the following classes: A1, A2, B1, B2, C, C1 and C2, D1 and the rest. We train learners with modern vehicles which fit the evolving digital world. Why choose Camel Park Driving School? we are situated within a serene environment which offers a humble space of study. Our classes are fitted with advanced materials which supports learning. Other benefits are flexible class schedule, pocket-friendly fees, proper theory and practical guide, annual operation and additional computer packages training. Spend less, learn more, drive forever. Apply now. For more information, call us on or SMS us on 0755 386 594 or 0753 915 354, or you can email us on camelcollege@gmail.com, or also you can visit our offices at Kiogoro, which is 5 kilometers from Kisii town along Kisii-Kilgoris Road. Camel Park Driving School, shaping dreams on the wheels. Je, wewe ni mmiliki wa aina ya gari aina ya Alto, Probox, Harrier, V8 na Lexus? Jipatie brake pads kwa bei nafuu hivi sasa. Vilevile oil filters kwa gari aina ya Toyota na vilevile Subaru. Ili upokee popote ulipo, piga simu kupitia nambari 0739318606. Mteja mpendwa, ni wakati sasa wa kujinyakulia aina ya flash disk kuanzia 8GB, 16GB na vilevile 32GB. Vilevile earphones, wireless headsets, unajipatia wireless microphones tofauti kwa bei nafuu. Yale ambayo unafaa kuyafanya hivi sasa ni kwamba unapiga simu kupitia nambari 0739318606. Yote unayapata kwa bei nafuu popote ulipo.
Welcome back again as we continue with our program here, that is the Morning Bus. Now getting to the trending stories. Of course, it is 35 minutes past 8 a.m. and of course our last segment on the trending stories. And as we start the trending stories, of course, there's a lot of stories that have been trending yesterday, but we have some of them that we are going to have a look at. And of course, starting from Kiambu County, that is the Defense Cabinet Secretary Soipan Tuya affirmed that the Minister of Defense is jointly constructing Thika Stadium in collaboration with the Kiambu County government, that is led by Kimani Wamatangi, that is underscoring a strong intergovernmental cooperation to deliver key public infrastructure. And of course, as she was speaking, she further stated that all projects developed by the county will continue uninterrupted, firmly dismissing the propaganda claims by Thika Member of Parliament Alice Ng'ang'a that the modern kiosks built by the Kiambu County government are set for demolitions. And of course, let's hear what Defense CS Soipan Tuya mentioned yesterday during his tour in Kiambu County.
Construction ambayo imefanyika kwa hii uwanja kuna stalls, tumeambiwa ni 600 stalls. Kuna hiyo basketball coach, kuna hiyo swimming pool na any other development kwa stadium hii. Hakuna moja yao itakayobomolewa. Na watu wa propaganda waache propaganda. Hakuna ubomoaji wowote ambao utafanyika hapa. Tumetengeza plans ambazo zita incorporate all the other developments ambazo ziko kwa stadium. Kwa hivyo ni kuomba wananchi wa Kiambu tuweze kutembea pamoja. Huu ni wakati wa kufanya kazi kwa sababu kuna miradi mingi ambaye Rais William Ruto anaendesha katika hii county ya Kiambu.
Of course, that is Soipan Tuya, the Cabinet Secretary for Defense of the government of Kenya, that is. And elsewhere, of course, as much as politics have started in the country, there is one, Kasmol Mukure. He declared that all young people in the country are in support of William Samoei Ruto's re-election in 2027. Of course, something that has been trending, and most of the people have been criticizing Kasmol Mukure on how he's speaking, and others asking if asking what he can be able to bring on the table. And even those ones who are talking to, I suspect, each God. Of course, people, the way people were talking that is suspecting, or they were suspecting that the guy or the youth or the young people that he was with, they were being paid. Let's first of all have a look at what and listen to what he said during that meeting, a clip of around 20 seconds.
Kama vijana tumepeana direction. Tumesema kwamba hatuko undecided anymore. Tumeamua kwamba 2027 nani atakuwa rais wetu? William Samoei Ruto. Sasa hiyo mtu yote mnajaribu kucheza na sisi, mtu yote mnajaribu kuleta any divisive narrative, huo ni mtu mwenye hata prosper. Sisi kama vijana tumeungana.
From the politics of Kasmol Mukure, and saying that the young people are in support of the current president until, of course, his election in 2027. Let's move to another opposition figure, that is the former the Chief Justice Emeritus, David Kenani Maraga, of United Green Movement. That is the party leader of the United Green Movement, David Maraga, has accused the police of using unnecessary force against the United Opposition leaders. And he was speaking that during one of the events that he attended. And let's have a look at what Kenani Maraga, the Chief Emeritus, what he said. And from after that clip, we will be also to check on the comments and, of course, what you have said as we move on.
The government has panicked. I have never seen, a situation where the police go and tear gas a church where you expect very old people, a church where you expect children, a church where you expect, women, and you tear gas them. People are injured. Yesterday, is it yesterday or the day before, we saw the tear gassing in Kitengela. What was the cause? Those people were having a peaceful meeting. There was no cause whatsoever. There was no breach of peace whatsoever. The government has just panicked, and that tells you what is happening. I stand firmly with the United Opposition in condemning the tear gassing of gatherings, the tear gassing particularly of churches. Today, I know the leaders of United Opposition are going to the IG's office to demand prosecution, because nothing has been done of those who were involved in the tear gassing of the church. I would have actually joined them in Nairobi, and I had said that if they are going to hold any demonstrations, I would join them. I would have loved to join them in going to the IG's office and demand the prosecution of those people. But we had already made plans to be here, and that's why I am here. But I'm joining my call with theirs that we should not
All right, after having listened to what the former Chief Justice of course, the Green Movement Party, saying of how the police officers are using a lot of forces to the united opposition, let's also hear of what Senator Enoch Wambua said during what he termed that, or when he slammed Fred Okengo Matiang'i Daktari over his scientific method of choosing united opposition presidential candidates. And of course, this is one of the stories that we highlighted on the newspaper review in the morning. A few minutes ago, talking about that some of the close allies of the former Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka, and of course the party leader for Wiper Democratic Front, they have said that they are not going to allow what Matiang'i mentioned to be used to find or to get the presidential candidates. Let's hear what Senator Enoch Wambua mentioned during one of its addresses in a meeting that he was yesterday.
Mimi kuna maneno nimeona leo na nimesema sasa hii maneno ni lazima nitasema. Nimesikia kiongozi mmoja wetu anaitwa Bwana Matiang'i ameanza kuleta shida katika maneno ya the presidential candidate wa opposition. Anaanza kusema sasa mahali tumefika, we want sijui scientific research, sijui nini, tujue nani atachaguliwa akuwe flag bearer, hatutakubalia watu wakae chini waongee wakubaliane. Andumai tunamkubaliate mmoja. Nyinyi mnataka Kalonzo Musyoka akuwe presidential candidate ama asikuwe presidential candidate? Akuwe presidential candidate. Na nyinyi mko tayari kusimama na yeye mpaka mwisho? Sasa mimi nataka niseme hivi. Kwa sababu hawa sasa watu wameanza kutumanage. You know, we are now being managed in a very, very funny way. Hii maneno ya kuwa managed kama Wakamba, na sasa naongea nikiwa nyumbani. Maneno ya Mkamba kuwa managed in respect of the presidential candidature wa opposition. Hiyo maneno iliisha na election ya 2022. Never again, and I say this nikiwa nyumbani kwa watu wangu, never again shall we be managed by anyone. Na mimi nataka kusema leo, na kiongozi wangu anasikiza mahali yuko, na hajanituma lakini nitasema, hao watu wa opposition by the time tumefika June wapatie wa Kenya who the presidential candidate is. Kama wajana ndio twende. Na sisi inyando maana ngune. Nyinyi mnasema presidential candidate atakuwa ni nani? Muongee na sauti, tuongee na Kenya. Nyinyi mnasema presidential candidate wa opposition atakuwa ni nani? Mwana ni Kalonzo? Sasa hao watu wajue hivi. In that team hakuna kiongozi mmoja ambaye amehitimu kuwa presidential candidate kushinda Kalonzo Musyoka. Sindio? So tuache kupeleka kuchukua Wakenya ufala. You know, Kenyans know what they want. Wakenya we want clarity. Yani tutembee tukijua this is a presidential candidate. Tuanze kupopularize as a presidential candidate. Tuanze kujipanga tukijua the person mwenye atapeleka Ruto nyumbani ni Kalonzo Musyoka. Sindio? Tuanze kusema this ma UDM nimevangie, nimesema candidate wao ni mama isi. Sindio? Juzi nimeona hata wameambia watu wa ODM forget the presidency, forget the deputy. Wao wamejipanga. Sisi hapa bado tunakanyaganana sijui nini, scientific nini, no more. Nenda kwa siate, tasene kwa account yake tu hii. You boya sito, malili kanomaito, gawasito, ni ku make sure kana Kalonzo wa Musyoka ni wewe the presidential candidate wa United Opposition na alange makuona bena minya kuika kiu, please. Clear the way. Kama wazee ndio twende. So as we know tuko na nani na hatuna nani. You know, me I believe, na hii nasema nikiwa kwa watu wangu. I strongly believe that Matiang'i is being used by the system to bring confusion in the opposition. That's what I believe. Yeye mwenyewe kama sio hiyo, he must draw the line and go with the decision of majority. Wale wengine nimasikiza kila mtu anasema wanataka Kalonzo. Kila mtu anataka Kalonzo, anataka Kalonzo. Sasa wewe maneno ya scientific sasa hiyo ni vitu gani hata tuletea? I mean sisi tunataka kutembea, ngo asiadiano mbele kumdukilia. Mimi kama
Right, those are the politics, and of course, when somebody is being asked, or when we tell them, don't start politics as early as now, they will tell you that that is my job, that is what I do, that is what I do, and I earn, and then we just leave them do their politics. Of course, we have had Senator Wambua talk about the scientific method that as mentioned that to have been said by the former cabinet the secretary for interior to be used to pick the presidential candidate from the united opposition. And of course we can be able to see Wambua, or Senator Wambua, is one of the allies of the former vice president, and of course the party leader for ODM, the party leader for Wiper party. And we are seeing there strongly is at his home backyard, and of course he is strongly rallying behind the Wiper Democratic Front, that is leader Kalonzo Musyoka, to ensure that he is the one who is being the flag bearer of the presidential, more so from the united opposition in the 2027 general elections. And now talking about issues of economics, and of course our economy in the country, there was something that Ndindi Nyoro spoke yesterday. And of course Ndindi Nyoro is one of the economists in the country, and is somebody who has done that. And he was saying one of the things that why he doesn't want the government to sell the shares of Safaricom. And we are going to listen to what exactly Ndindi Nyoro is saying about of course, he called for the immediate suspension of the proposed sale of government shares in Safaricom, and arguing that the deal no longer represents value of the taxpayers. And let's just listen to what he mentioned as we get back, and of course have a look at other trending stories as we crown it up.
Sold a narrative to Kenyans, a self-interested narrative, that the Safaricom share price at 34 shillings was being traded at an unimaginary premium. As late as last Friday, the share of Safaricom in the Nairobi Securities Exchange actually crossed the 34 shillings mark. So we are calling upon those people in government who are auctioning our assets for a song. A time has come when the markets themselves have betrayed you. The markets that you are hedging your narrative on is already past your transaction price. And therefore it is now time that Kenya halts and suspends the sale of Safaricom shares to Vodacom immediately, because Kenyans are already buying those shares at a cheaper price in the market. And because we've been seeing those in government just dumping, and they don't want to take responsibility to give credible feedback to Kenyans in terms of this transaction, I want to tell them this: we are giving you time to respond to issues that Kenyans are raising. And if people who are charged in negotiating for Kenyans will still continue to talk on behalf of the buyers, I am giving them this ultimatum today, that I am going to give Kenyans the contacts of the directors of Vodacom so that Kenyans can engage them directly on behalf of their 100 shares per Kenyan, which the Kenyan government is selling. So we are going to...
Right, that's indeed Nyoro, and of course he has mentioned something that if the country, of course, if what the government is selling out, it's not of the value of the taxpayer. And then he has threatened to give actually the contacts of the Vodafone to the Kenyans so that they can be able to engage them directly. And of course, you know, well, when it comes to that, and if they get it, maybe they might back off or stay, depending on what depending on the message that they'll be getting from the Kenyan representation. That is, if those who are supposed to represent them have not done their work well, and that is Ndindi Nyoro. Ndindi Nyoro is an economist, and we have known him for that. And of course, actually, by last year, towards the end of it, he was still in the committee until he was suspended from the committee when the changes were made last year, towards the last quarter of the year. And as we move on, those are some of the trending stories. And of course, not forgetting that the Member of Parliament, Member of Parliament Peter Salasya, yesterday resumed his presidential campaigns in Nakuru City, where he is campaigning to be the 6th president of the Republic of Kenya. And of course, he has not mentioned fully the party that he will be using to run for the presidency, but we are waiting to see. And of course, the good part of last year, he was doing those campaigns. And of course, towards the end of it, he went silent a little bit. And now, 2026, he has started from Nakuru City. Elsewhere, is that yesterday, President William Ruto promised to sponsor top Kenyans EPL football fans that is more so the useful IDOT of Arsenal to Emirates Stadium, and of course Masagara of Manchester United to Old Trafford Stadium. And that is something that when they were engaging with the Member of Parliament, that is Jalango, aka Oduor, and he promised to cater for their transport and their visas, and of course ensuring that wherever they will be spending their nights or wherever the hotels that they will be sleeping, that the president will be taking care of it. You know, one way of supporting, of course, teams. But now somebody was asking a question, if I can be able to gather some of the comments that I saw there. They said that now the president, Jalango, has turned the president to be a comedian. The other time we saw him at Talanta Stadium taking a selfie video showing how things have been done. And now he has been turned to be a comedian on what he's saying. And now, of course, that was Agri Mugawi and Evans Mabe saying that even the president himself is a comedian. And Lameck Seko saying that mimi naona sisi wa Kenya ndio wabaya, wengine ni viongozi ambao tunaona kwamba wametumwa na Mungu. Don Bedro Hosley anasema kwamba this should have focused on radio presenter. He is not a politician, rather turning the president to be a comedian. Eli saying that Jalango mwenyewe, I wish ingekuwa development or anything that touches common mwananchi ndio unaenda kuuliza. This time tuchague viongozi wako na akili kidogo. All right, some of the comments from of course I know some of you have seen that video on social media trending. And elsewhere is that yesterday members from Kakamega County members of parliament from Kakamega County met President William Ruto at State House, Nairobi, and a move that has been speculated a lot of concerns on social media. And of course, as the faction of ODM is planning to have a mega meeting in Kakamega this weekend, and something that has been said is to counter the Linda Mwananchi rally that has been scheduled to be on next Sunday or this week, actually, this weekend at the region that is Kakamega County. And of course, there is a lot that has been said about that meeting. And of course, we don't have any footage from that, but what we saw is the picture when they were posing for a photo or for a common photo yesterday. And elsewhere, of course, we have mentioned about Kasmore. It was trending. And elsewhere, we saw the Thika constituency voter should ask whether MP or their member of parliament, Alice Nganga, is mentally okay. when he was seen yesterday, of course, saying that the current governor is afraid, and of course he cannot be able to get into her meeting, and that showed how he was vocal, and of course how he was speaking yesterday during one of the meetings that he attended. And elsewhere, of course, other trending stories is that the self-proclaimed Raila Odinga's son, Okech Salam, adopted son, dares Junet Mohammed to cane him, says he is a teacher when it comes to that. You know, this came out during a meeting that happened in Mombasa, that is in Tononoka, that is after the weekend on Sunday, when Junet Mohammed publicly told of Okech Salah not to be printing t-shirts with ODM and of course President William Samoei Ruto as their presidential candidate. And of course it's something that sounded as a warning, but we saw yesterday Okech Salah of course having a response to what Junet Mohammed had said. And elsewhere, a Belgut member of parliament, Nelson Koech, challenged Sifuna, Kagushia and Ososi to resign if they truly follow Raila Odinga's spirit, urging them to form or join another party. It was a discussion that was in one of the national TVs in the country when they were having a talk in an interview, and of course he dared them to resign and telling them that once Raila Amolo Odinga, when he felt that he was unable to be in a certain party, he resigned as a member of parliament, then formed a party and vied via that party, and of course won, and he's daring them, the likes of Sifuna, Kagushia, and of course Ososi, to resign and of course vie or join other parties, and of course fight for their seats if they can be able to gun, or if they can be able to get back to parliament again. And those being some of the trending stories that we had this morning. And of course, there is a lot that is going on, and we keep following DZTV Africa for more updates. Not forgetting that the Kenyans may soon be able to access the portal for their pension earlier for schools, housing. Of course, something that was on the Business Daily newspaper, and it's something that I've seen people are talking about on social media. More so the access or the access part of their pension earlier for school, housing or medical bills, while keeping the rest for retirement. Currently the earlier retirement age is 50, but when the new proposal may allow the access even before this for those who are in need of it. And those are some of the trending stories that we have for you, maybe to check on some of the comments that you have shared so that I can be able to read them. So I'm checking on the 21575 chats, and of course on our social media platforms, because I can be able, all right. Those are some of whatever I lay, I can be able to see Regran Baba Chantel following that. Thank you for making or for following DZTV Africa. I can be able to see Metrin from Nakuru City saying that from St. Paul's University, saying that we are locked and following more so the news, that is the newspaper review. Thank you for updating on what's going on. And of course, I can be able to see here Sheila. She's saying that I thank you for the updates, and of course for the politicians, let them just make a noise this time round. We as the common mwananchi, we have prepared ourselves well, and we'll be able to give them what they want. And Ruth Nyanchama is saying that watching live from Kisii Town. Thank you so much for those who are watching. And up to that moment, that's where we put a stop for today's show. Until tomorrow will be on Wednesday, and of course for the Christians, also the Catholics, they will be observing the Ash Wednesday, and of course the Muslim community will be starting their Ramadan month, and of course we do say Ramadan Karim, and of course the Lent period for those who are observing it or starting observing it tomorrow. Wish you all the best as you keep watching in DZTV Africa this season. as you, of course, keep the holy month and observe it. And from my side is that thank you for watching Ndizi TV Africa this morning, and be following us on our social media platforms, that is Ndizi TV Africa, on our social media platforms all the way, that is on Facebook, on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and of course X, not forgetting TikTok. You can be able to follow us there, and of course talk to us via our SMS number, that is 21575, as we engage to other trending stories. Maybe we'll be updating you on what's going on until the day goes. And that is what we prepared for you this morning. My name is Jeff Nyakundi. My director has been Lucas Oma. Bye bye for now. See you tomorrow, the same time, same day here at Ndizi TV Africa.